it was oddly freeing to get rid of these things, because you don't realize how much it holds you back from being able to do other things.
Hey Limitless Nation, today you're in for a real treat. Today you get to learn directly from John Garland. John Garland competed as a young artist and has sung all over the United States and now calls Nice, France home. John is acclaimed as a gifted vocalist on the French Riviera and offers his talents throughout the Riviera and Europe. Trained as an operatic tenor, John currently specializes in Great American Songbook, jazz, blues, pop, and country, and is available to be booked at live music venues and private events throughout Europe, the Middle East, Asia, and America. Recent engagements include Grand-Hotel du Cap-Ferrat, Shapko, American Club of the Riviera, Les Arcades, and he is a regular favorite on the Truc, BrewDog Nice, and the Snug and Cellar. You may recognize John from his episode of House Hunters International on HGTV, Finding a Voice in Nice, France. In today's masterclass, you're going to learn directly from the master himself, John Garland. Let's dive into it.
Well, before you dive into today's masterclass session, make sure you subscribe to my YouTube channel by clicking on the subscribe button below. It allows you to receive notification bell every single time we have uploaded a new video and showing you how to live a limitless life. Now, if you want to dig deeper on what you need to do to hunt your future, make sure you watch the interview that I've done with Donna Vaughn at huntyourfuture.com. It will show you how you can hunt your future on every aspect of your being. Plus, you're going to receive tips and secrets on what you need to do to tackle your days on a regular basis. Now, let's dive into today's masterclass sessions.
Hey, John Garland.
Hello, how are you?
I am doing phenomenal, and it's a privilege and honor to have you here with us today.
Oh, well, thank you. I'm super pleased to be here. Thank you.
You're most welcome. Now, here at the Limitless Nation, we have a tradition of starting every interview with a limitless quote or mantra. So do you have something that you say or think to yourself on a daily basis?
A really big thing for me is I try to listen to my gut feeling, just in general, because it usually serves me pretty well. And every time that I'm like, well, maybe I'm just overthinking or something like that, if it's like really a deep gut feeling and I ignore it, I always end up regretting it. So if I get that deep gut feeling, I try to remind myself to just go with it, even if it doesn't make sense. And, for the most part.
So follow your gut within reason.
Yeah, I would say so. I mean, if it's telling me something like completely crazy, then I might ignore it. But when you meet somebody new and you get, you're making friends or whatever, and sometimes you just kind of get that something seems a little off or whatever, then I'll still make an effort and get to know, I'm not going to just write them off immediately, but there's that little red flag there, and usually it's right. So that sort of thing.
Right. Okay.
If that makes sense.
It makes sense. It makes complete sense, because you never really know somebody, but sometimes you just have that inner intuition that guides you one way or the other. And sometimes that intuition is the same thing that gets you out of the very situation that you got into because you didn't listen to the intuition in the first place.
I'm definitely a very intuitive Pisces.
All right. So can you share with the Limitless Nation a challenge or obstacle or just setback that you've had to overcome to get to the limitless life that you're currently living?
Oh God, just one? So one big thing for me has always been, I've always been overweight since I don't know, probably maybe third grade. And then just gradually got worse. And so, yeah, I've always battled with that and with self-esteem issues, of course, junior high and high school, and are very difficult when you're different or, even though I was fairly popular. Everybody knew who I was, but I also had certain people who made fun of me and, and I honestly, even to this day, if I hear someone off in the distance laughing, I automatically think they're laughing at me. Like, I still have that. It's mostly gone, but once in a while, I'm like, what did I do? So that was a big thing. I've lost and gained 100 pounds several times, lost, gained, and then I lost 130 pounds and paid to have the full tummy tuck, upper body lift, liposuction, the whole shebang. So yeah, and some people think I'm weird because I'm so open about it, but I'm just a very open person. So I talk about things that most people kind of tend to keep secret, and it seems to work for me most of the time. Being open, it bites me once in a while, but that's just kind of how I am.
So from what I'm hearing, it sounds like that from an early age, right out of the gate, you had a difficulty or challenge with your weight, with your self-esteem, and with you mentioned this off camera, that you had an issue with anxiety and just being in front of a group, or just, I guess you could say, you had a almost impossible time leading any group in, as you would say, silent prayer. Would that be about accurate?
I guess you could say it that way.
What I would say is just standing in front of a group, holding the microphone, gave you an automatic reaction.
Oh yeah, definitely. Sweating, major sweating. I still sweat when I sing now, but it's more because of the effort of the singing and not so much because of the nerves. But yeah, I had terrible anxiety with that ended up becoming work anxiety later on for other types of jobs. So yeah, it's just that was a big challenge for me.
Right. And in taking on this challenge, you managed to, from what I understand, you conquered your weight by losing, gaining, but eventually you got to the point where you got to the weight that you wanted to be, that it's a healthier weight. And obviously you've had some other techniques and systems that have helped you keep that weight off.
Yeah. I'm and I've gained a bit back, so I'm a little more than I'd like to be. I'm fairly comfortable, but I'm trying to find the time to get back to the gym because I was exactly where I wanted to be, and now I'm just a little bit above that. So
there's always that room for improvement.
Yeah.
And in thinking of improvement, going through these challenges of weight, of anxiety, of identity crisis, of trying to figure out where you fit in, what would you say is your biggest aha moment, that things just started to click and you managed to level up?
Basically, and I'll try to compound this a bit. Basically when my life just completely changed, totally changed. My now ex unexpectedly left. I didn't know they were planning on leaving while I was traveling, moved out, came home, they were gone. Had no idea. Ended up getting divorced, and then I fell into major depression, which I used to have when I was in my junior high and high school. I dealt with, and then things had been much better, except when the anxiety started in jobs later on, like customer service and things like that. With the depression, I ended up losing my job. Then I was on the verge of losing my house. And I finally got to the point where I was having suicidal thoughts. That kind of took me back to the shame that I felt when I was in junior high and high school, when I used to be so uncomfortable with my weight and was so depressed. And I was being in Texas at that time, with realizing that I was gay, which was, it was just all a big jumble. So basically I kind of fell back into that depression. And I'd always promised myself that if that happened again, if I ever reached that point that things were that bad, that I would sell everything and move to Europe. Because, if you're at that point in your life where things seem that bad, it's kind of like, what do you have to lose? Type of thing. So I sold my house, I sold my Jeep Wrangler, sold most of my things, and this was like a year-long process. And I just kept feeling that feeling of I'm supposed to be in Nice. I'm supposed to be in Nice. And of course, my mom is like, don't move, you're going to move to France. And that sort of kind of like, that's kind of crazy. And I'm just, but I couldn't get out of my head. Like I had been here. I'd only been to Nice once. I'd never had any interest in it before. It was just like a stopover on another trip. And I was here for less than 2 days and I loved it. And I just couldn't get out of my head. I'm like, it was almost like God, it was like God was saying, you're supposed to be here. You're supposed to be here. And so I just went with it and I had to sell my house before I could get my visa. That would have been pretty bad had I not gotten approved for the visa, because you have to have a certain amount of money in the bank for France to allow you to come. So without selling my house, I didn't have enough money to get approved for the visa. So it was just kind of like a big faith jump. It's been absolutely amazing. So love living here.
That is incredible. Wow.
So a lot to throw and probably TMI but a little bit, but I always it breaks. I mean, I've seen people who have committed suicide over depression and things like that. And I would think, I'm like, if you're really to that point, why not do something else drastic? Even though it's scary, it's like, if you're in that bad of a place, why not just sell everything and move to another country and just try it? I mean, what do you have? You have nothing to lose at that point.
Right.
So,
yeah.
And things just fell into place. I mean, just like that feeling I had that this is where I was supposed to be, everything just started working. And to the point where I was like, holy crap, this is actually working out. Because, in my mind, I kept thinking, okay, I won't get the visa, or, well, I probably won't, I kept waiting for something to happen to stop me, and then it didn't. And then I got picked to do the House Hunters International episode, and that was awesome experience and gave me some great television exposure. And it's so awesome because I was singing at BrewDog, which is a place I sing, and I've had people, are you that guy from House Hunters International? I mean, just randomly, and like walking down the street, I've had a couple people say that, and then people, once they see me, they'll come see me at the Truc is a place I sing at, and they'll start, so it's just kind of crazy. I mean, it doesn't make you, it doesn't launch you into any kind of celebrity status, but when somebody actually recognizes and is like, are you that guy? I mean, of course, there's not a lot of big guys like me running around Nice with a curly mustache. So I am kind of easy to recognize, but it's still just kind of funny and weird to me.
Yeah, it sounds like it's a never-ending, exciting adventure that you have put yourself in a position where instead of living a life that was just depressing and somebody else's plan for you, you decided to create and design your own life, even if it meant taking that scary leap of faith and moving outside of the States into France, owning basically nothing and starting from ground zero.
Yeah, and I always have people ask me, because I know so many people now, and when I meet people, they're like, who did you know before you moved to Nice? And I'm like, I didn't know a single person here, zero. I knew one person I'd met online, but we'd never met in person. We'd never talked on the phone. We were just Facebook friends, and we didn't actually meet until I moved here. But yeah, I didn't know anybody. I just knew this is where I was supposed to be.
Yeah, and sometimes that's all you need is to take that first step forward. Now, with you already saying that you've experienced a lot and you've done a lot, and now you know a lot more people and have that television exposure, and you have that singing career that you have developed and into what it is now, what are you working on now?
Hope you enjoyed the masterclass session so far. Before we get into the second half of the session itself, it is very crucial for you to subscribe to my YouTube channel, as I really don't want you to miss out on another masterclass where I'm going to share with you what other expert celebrities, Fortune 5000 companies do to become successful and live a limitless life. So make sure you subscribe right now, and every single time we upload a new video, you will receive a notification bell. This allows you to enjoy the masterclass on the regular basis. So make sure you subscribe right now. Well, as you are ready, let's get into the second half of the masterclass session.
I mean, basically just adding more shows. I mean, here, most of the singers that I know here, I mean, there are a lot of musicians in Nice. I mean, and of course, Nice has always been kind of a mecca for artists of all kinds, painters, and I've been so blessed to meet so many cool people who do all kinds of art and writing and things like that. So most people who are musicians kind of have sporadic shows here and there. There are not many people who have regular weekly gigs, and I'm really lucky that I actually have 3 weekly shows at the same place, same time every week right now. So what I'm working on is, trying to always add new music so I can switch things up and not singing the same songs, because I sing for 3 to 4 hours, which is a long time for one person to sing. So I'm a little hoarse right now. So on the days that I'm not singing, if possible, I try to talk as little as possible so my voice has time to recover. But I am basically working on getting to where I'm doing more private events, private parties, which is starting to come together, like yacht parties, things like that. As well as I would like to add another 1 or 2 weekly events. So it's just gradually growing and more people are coming. And of course, now the tourist season is starting to kick in again for the year. So yeah, it's just really awesome. And I get to meet great people and go say hello and chat and take selfies with people, and it's fun. It's a little stressful because I really like to say hello to everyone, and when it's a big group, it's kind of hard to sing and talk to everybody. So I'm kind of balancing that right now. But
Wow. So where can the Limitless Nation viewers and listeners go to learn more about you, your singing, as well as to learn about how they can book you for a show?
Okay, so my website is jgjones.net. So jgjones.net. Basically, there's a link to my House Hunters International episode there. There's a link to my YouTube channel. Everything is there, and all of my info to contact me for singing.
Awesome. Thank you very much for sharing that.
Sure. Thank you.
Now, with you having impacted so many different people's lives in a positive way, encouraging them, etc., what would you say in one sentence is the best piece of advice that you yourself have ever received that you can now share with the Limitless Nation?
I actually was thinking about this, because that's a tough question, because Lord knows I get a lot of advice from a lot of people. But this actually kind of goes with that, because I do get so much, because I'm so open. And when you're very open with your life and everything, you get a lot of feedback that you don't necessarily really want. I'm kind of like, I was just venting. I didn't really want an answer. So I was told basically to take the advice that helped me and ignore the rest. So basically the best advice I got was to ignore a lot of the advice that I get, because sometimes it just doesn't fit you or it doesn't feel right. So I think sometimes people forget that you can pick and choose which advice works for you, and the rest you can toss in the garbage.
Completely agree with that, because in reading a book, you could have, I don't know how many books on any one given topic. Let's say singing, since you are a professional singer. If you have 3 different books that each say you sing this way, and the first book contradicts the second book, and the second book contradicts both first and second, then you kind of have to get into your own mind and say, what one works for me? What one makes sense to me?
Exactly.
And speaking of books, what is a book that you would recommend to the Limitless Nation?
This is another interesting one because I am a bit dyslexic, so I do get a bit jealous of so many friends of mine that are big readers, because I would love to be a big reader but when I try to read, it just doesn't absorb as well as I would like. So
what audiobook?
Right. And I need to try that. I have not really tried the audiobook thing, but I will say 2 movies that I love that were books, so hopefully that counts okay.
It counts.
The Color Purple, I've seen, I think, 17 times, and it's just...
Talking about Oprah Winfrey.
Yeah, Oprah and The Color Purple with and Whoopi Goldberg, and I mean, it's just an amazing... Actually, we watched it in high school to learn about symbolism, like all of the different symbolism in the movie and in the book, and it's just, there's so many things to overcome, and so much strength and adversity, that it's just one of those movies I've gone back to over and over. And one of these days I will read the book, or at least do the audiobook, like you said. And also sometimes I get very overwhelmed. I mean, when you're performing and you're talking to so many people and you're trying to please everyone, I get a little overwhelmed. And sometimes you need a movie to watch that you just can just cry really hard and have that release of, like, the stress release. So it's a good crying movie. The Color Purple. And then the other is Under the Tuscan Sun, because I've had some bad breakups, and that's like my go-to crappy breakup movie, where she moves to Tuscany and like starts over.
Okay.
I hope that qualifies as an answer.
It qualifies. It qualifies because it's something that you go back to help recalibrate, reset yourself, and encourage yourself one way or the other to get yourself back into that moving forward momentum.
Exactly.
And that's pretty much what a lot of people read books for. Now, obviously, some people read books for other reasons, but from what I've gathered, a lot of people read books to help them continue with that forward momentum, to give them another idea or a little bit more inspiration. And yes, you can get that perfectly well from a movie or audiobook, or just going to a seminar or wherever. So yes, that certainly qualifies. So in one sentence, can you tell me, what is it that you are most grateful for today?
Most grateful for today? God, that's so hard. Okay, in a sentence, which means I can say more than one thing if it's in the same sentence. Maybe. Okay, so in a sentence, I am amazingly grateful for this opportunity I have to live here in this amazing country, the amazing people that I've met here, my family that's been so supportive, my little dog over there that you can see in the background, who's my little emotional support, everything. And to be able to finally be doing what I love to do is just amazing. And for the guidance that helped me get here.
I love it.
So I kind of cheated because I put a bunch of things in my one sentence.
It's still one sentence. It's still one sentence. It still works. It's just called what we call a run-on sentence. And
I always look for a little loophole, Yeah.
It works. Now, in speaking of looking for loopholes, that's a really interesting thought process there, because in order to get to where you're at now, you certainly can't just do that just by all of a sudden say, hey, I want to sing, pay me. I'm sure you have to have like a ritual or some type of habit. So what is a habit or ritual that you have introduced into your life that helps you maintain this limitless life? Because you did mention that on your off days, you try not to talk at all. So that's kind of like a ritual.
Yeah, okay. So a couple of answers for that. For one, when I have a show, if I'm going to be performing, I try my best to not do anything else specific that day. I mean, if I go for a walk with my dog or if I do something, but I try not to schedule anything that takes a lot of thought because I want to focus completely on just being in the mindset of I'm going to be singing. And then as it gets close, a little closer, I start doing some gradual vocal exercises because everybody wants Queen, Freddie Mercury, and you got to have the falsetto and all these. I don't like to sing easy songs. I like to sing hard stuff that's hard for other people to sing because it's just more rewarding for me. So I do the vocalizing. I try to do some stretching, like actual physical, like touching my toes and like stretching just to kind of loosen up. And then just kind of try to get in a good mood, whether it's playing some fun music. The tricky thing is not just singing, but entertaining and making sure that I'm in a good mood so I can put everybody else in a good mood or, kind of convey that, which is a big, tricky part about, because there's a big difference I've found between being a singer and entertainer. And I'm trying to get to that point where I'm a better entertainer and not just singing.
Yeah, that makes sense because it sounds like you are not only setting yourself up for success in singing the songs to the key that they're supposed to be at, but also putting yourself in that mindset and that energy that conveys the emotions that you want to let the audience experience.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, if I'm singing "Friends in Low Places" by Garth Brooks, I want people to be like swinging their beer around and enjoying that. And then if I switch to "When We Were Young" from Adele or "Somewhere Over the Rainbow," then I want to see a little tear trickle, and I watch and I pick somebody to sing and like make eye contact. And, I like for everybody at some point to feel like I'm singing just for them. I mean, that's very important to me, especially in these more intimate venues when you have the opportunity to do that.
Completely agree. Yeah. And that really makes the song come alive. And like I said, makes the song come alive and it helps you resonate, or the people resonate with you.
And after I've answered that, I forgot what the original question was.
Habits or rituals that you do.
Habits or rituals. Okay. So that's as far as getting ready for a show and getting in that mindset. And the reason that I try to avoid doing too much is because if I have an argument or something stressful happens or anything, I'm a very emotional person and I don't hide emotions very well. So I have to try to keep myself away from thinking about things that will throw me off. As far as getting, new opportunities, I basically I love to meet and talk to everybody that I can. I mean, especially in the south of France, I mean, you really never know who you're going to meet. I mean, it could be the lady who works at the market. It could be a prince. It could be a movie star, a producer. I mean, there are so many people here and Nice in particular has so many expats and is so international that you just honestly never know who you're going to meet and who they know or what you're going to learn from them. So I try as much as I can to talk to everyone and just enjoy these amazing people. And it's really almost insane how much opportunity I've had singing with making, I hate to say making very little efforts, but it's just kind of happened. You know what I mean?
Right.
Like
you found your talent. You found something that the universe gave to you that you inherently do with the least amount of effort, with the most amount of results. something that you still work on because, as you said, you did go to private lessons for over 4 years plus. You did take that time to practice since a young age, and you said off camera that at 15, 14, you were singing on the lawnmower. So you do have a lot more than just, oh, I'm just going to show up on stage and I can sing. No, you actually have that background that not a lot of people understand, but that background allows you to go from like Adele to Garth Brooks. So you have that skill. It's not something that is that's simply easier than everyone else, but it's something that you have developed.
And it's kind of funny, and I'm flattered because when I talk to people and they start asking me questions, and then when I tell them that I studied opera originally, they're like, oh, like, so that's why. They're like, oh, you sound like you've been trained, or you're, that sort of thing. But the thing one thing I'm so grateful for is so many opera singers come out with an album of blues or jazz or pop or something like that. And usually they sound like an opera singer singing blues or jazz or pop. They still sound like an opera singer. They're just singing different music. And, I want to sound like that style. So I'm very proud that I'm able to switch and use my training, but not have everything sound like I'm singing opera, like a country song, but with, an opera voice, which is, I think that's something I'm very proud of, because I don't feel like a lot of people can sometimes switch gears like that. And I like to throw people off. Like, I like to just completely, sing Cry Me a River, like the old one, not the Justin Timberlake one, and then go into like a Patsy Cline country song with twang and all. And then people are like, so it's just kind of fun.
It certainly sounds like it is. Now, in a hypothetical world, if you had the ability to travel back through time and space and talk to the younger version of yourself, what advice would you give that individual?
I really, and I know a lot of people say this, but and whether it was when I was a kid or even 3 years ago, the whole "it gets better" thing is really true. I mean, sometimes you have to make it get better. It doesn't always just get better on its own. But like I said, if things are that bad, you have to just sometimes change everything and create a new path for yourself. So yeah, I would say the I don't know if you'd call it Gets Better campaign or whatever they call that, but it's definitely true if you let it be true.
I can agree with that. And a paraphrase of what you're saying is, nothing lasts forever. What you're going through right now, that emotion, that state, whatever it is not going to be the rest of your life. You can change. You have that ability to. And you already demonstrated that in your ability to just all of a sudden make a decision and move.
Yeah, and you mentioning that reminds me of something. And I'm good at remembering random things, but I'm not always good at remembering where I heard them. So I often end up telling them to the person who told me, and then they're like, yeah, I told you that. And I'm like, oh, sorry. Sorry about that. Thanks, that was good. No, I wish I remember. I don't know if it was a movie or if somebody said it, but like I said, I'm not a morning person, so the Sunday morning church thing doesn't work for me. So I just do my own spiritual, right, praying and so forth. But in the Bible, somebody, wherever it was, mentioned that things always start, like the biggest stories always start with, and it came to pass. And their whole point was this big, dramatic, horrible thing that happened in this story came to pass. Like it happened and then it was over. So it kind of stuck with me that whenever these terrible, depressing, bad things happen in your life, at some point it's gonna pass.
Right.
So I just thought that was kind of cool that when that was pointed out, I was like, oh, that's was meaningful to me.
I agree. Now, kind of continuing on this thought process of this too shall pass, but still kind of staying in the lane of slight challenges. When you decided to move to France and really start your singing career and get on TV, etc., what would you say was the main thing that was holding you back from really becoming Limitless?
And I've recently read an article on this, but it was really I was so attached to my things. Like I've always been really big on stuff, and I like to collect things. So the thought of moving, when I'd done so much work on my house, and I like love to do like handyman stuff, and you build yourself this cage of things. And I mean, I've definitely acquired some things since I've been here, but so I still do it, but on a smaller scale. But yeah, I was so attached to my things and things I collected that I just couldn't let it go. And when everything just was falling apart, and I knew that at some point I was going to lose my house, and it ended up really freeing me from my things. I mean, things that my like antique things and art things that I collected, I put in storage, but everything else I got rid of. And it was oddly freeing to get rid of these things, because you don't realize how much it holds you back from being able to do other things.
Right. I can see exactly what you're saying, because you're holding so tightly onto this opportunity that you can't see that the next one's right over here, but you have to let go of this opportunity in order to grab the next one.
Yeah. And like, I mean, just like, like I said, I love, antiques and, all these things that I'd collected, and I'm just like, well, what would I do with them? And I can't take them to France. And, and then it just, once I reached a certain point, it was like, and the funny thing is, not long after I moved, like, I don't even remember, like I have to think to even remind myself of what the things were that I had, because I don't even think about it. The only thing I really kind of miss, and that's why I like candles a lot, is I miss my fireplace. I had a wood burning fireplace at my house, and when it was chilly, I loved to build a fire. So here I do candles because I don't have a fireplace.
It works. It works.
I miss, I talk to my family a lot. It's great now to have video chat and things like this, because it makes it so much easier. When I lived in Chicago, didn't really have all those things yet. And so it's just, it makes living in another country, you don't feel so far away. So I didn't experience the loneliness that I expected when I moved.
Okay. Yeah, that makes sense. And it's a great thing to have technology, and it's even better when it works.
Yeah. And now my mother has a place to come in the Côte d'Azur in the south of France to vacation. So I think she kind of likes that.
I'm sure she
Although
would.
I'm sure she'd rather have me there, but it's nice to have a place to come and stay.
Completely agree. So, and speaking of singing, where can the Limitless Nation viewers and listeners go to learn more about you, connect with you, learn what your singing gigs are all about, and all the different music that you have to share with the world?
So again, website jgjones.net, N-E-T, has my links and bio and photos and all that stuff. Basically put people through to my YouTube, where I have music. I do a lot on Facebook. So my Facebook is just John Garland, JOHNGARLAND. And I do a lot of Facebook Lives when I do my shows. I like sneak around and hit Facebook Live on my phone, and then people can actually watch me while I'm actually singing live, which is kind of fun. So yeah, lots of different things, but everything is linked from my website.
Awesome. Well, thank you very much for sharing that with us.
Oh, thank you for asking. I appreciate it very much.
Yes, and thank you very, very much for your time, John.
Oh, You as well. It was a pleasure.
I'm sure that the Limitless Nation has been inspired by your story. I know that I have been blown away at the bravery and tenacity that you were able to show, because you went from being overweight, being insecure, being not really confident in yourself, to having anxiety, having massive stage fright, to just a whole plethora of challenges that were just bombarded on you, to getting to the point where you said enough is enough, and then just like snapping your fingers, you made the decision, I'm just going to leave the state, I'm going to leave the country, and I'm just going to go completely to France. And that is something incredibly brave that I can't even imagine. But you were able to do that. You were able to bounce back from so many different challenges, so many different adversities, and you managed to go after what your mission is in life, your dream, to sing, to inspire, to encourage other people to feel the music and really enjoy their life on the scale that they want to live it on. Because instead of keeping all of these secrets and tactics and information to yourself, you decided that the best thing to do was to share it with the world, to give them something that they can dance to, give them something that they can really enjoy and create memories with.
Thank you. I'm very blessed to be able to do that, and I appreciate that. Thank you.
You're most welcome. And I mean it. I think that it's absolutely incredible. Until next time, this is Donovan saying, stay limitless.
Well, that's a wrap. Please make sure you subscribe to my YouTube channel by clicking on the word subscribe. And if you want to go deeper on learning on what you need to do to hunt your future, make sure you watch the interview that I've done with Donovan on what you need to do to hunt your future on every aspect of your being. This allows you to live a limitless life on every aspect of your life, starting from today's forward. Plus, you are going to receive tips and tricks on what you need to do to tackle your day, tackle your challenges on every situation, every single time. So go ahead and download it right now, and until then, stay limitless forever.
I gotta think, because I went out of order. So
Sorry, I always throw things off a little bit.
no, it's not your fault. Not your fault. I try to keep it interesting. So